You're watching New Car Spin. I'm your host Brian, and it's a windy, cold day today, but I'm gonna do this anyway. It's also very wet, and let's move on. My birthday was on February 9th. It also means, though, it wasn't just my birthday, it was the birthday of one version of the Dodge Durango that you have probably hardly seen so far, and that's because this isn't your mommy's Dodge Durango. I'll just give you an example of what it sounds like. That is the Durango SRT. It was actually announced on February 9th, 2017, and it was launched in the third or fourth quarter of 2017, so it's only been around for a couple months. It is intense. You can see here in the bruiser gray color that it's pretty intimidating. We have these optional 20-inch black wheels. You can see the Brembo 4-piston brake calipers in the rear, and of course the Brembo 6-piston 15-inch brakes that are slotted up front. And the 392 badge obviously means this is the large 6.4 liter V8 engine. But something that you might not know is I've driven the Durango before. I've driven the Durango RT, which is the 5.7 liter V8, and I called it the best vehicle for road trips these days. So this is obviously a step up, only in the aspect of power. I mean, you can see here in the rear, let me open this up, we still have this fabulous interior. Of course, we do have flip screens here, which will entertain your rear passengers. We do have rear individual seats in the middle row, but of course there is a third row, and that's what this thing is. This is the most powerful, fastest third row SUV in the market today. So before you go out and lease that Lexus SUV or that BMW SUV, or maybe you're going to buy a Mercedes GLS 550, this has more power than that. And what I really want to tell you about is just all the little things, because this thing is intense. It is $75,000, but you are getting a lot of bang for your buck. You'll see right now, this car is well connected through satellite to the weather. It has GPS. It has a customizable screen. We have remote start. Something really cool is this lights up at night. There's just so much in here to go over that I don't even know where to start or where to end. The Durango itself is a fantastic vehicle, but you throw 475 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque and all-wheel drive and 3-season tires. In a day like this, where I technically shouldn't be driving it because it's not a winter setup, and there's, by the way, the winter weather we're experiencing right now. What I can say is this thing drives, it drives very well. It's a solid vehicle. It sounds fantastic if you can't hear it right now. The seats are comfortable. These are the suede line seats. They're heated, they're ventilated. You can get solid leather on here. I like these, but I would prefer the solid leather. I sat in one and I liked it a lot. We have the Beats stereo. You can see with the icon there, Beats. The interior is just, it's just great. Now it's not Audi level, but when you consider the power and the size and just the beastiness of this thing, it's worth it. There are a few things I would recommend. So Sergio Marchioni, if you're watching this, the Durango really could use a panoramic roof, and there's one other thing, and it's something that the Mercedes can do that the Durango can't, and that really is with the well, let me explain. If we come around here, we have the lift gate, and it beeps and it's powered and it's very smooth, and we have the third row and it folds down. But you'll notice here the button to close it is on the side. Now that's like a trademark Fiat, Dodge, Chrysler thing, because your kid won't have to try and reach the button up here to try and close it if they're grabbing something from, you know, soccer practice or something. They can go to the car themselves. There's no helicopter parenting going on. They can press this button and it closes. But you'll also notice something else. The way it closes. Listen. It's practically silent. It doesn't slam, it's not shutting harshly, which means that if someone's sleeping in the back, like on a road trip, they're not going to be disturbed by going in and out of that trunk area, right? But the one place that they will be disturbed is this. And that's because we don't have soft closed doors. Now some people may say, well, that's good because I don't want my kids getting their fingers jammed in there on soft close, but what's really missing is the panel roof and soft closed doors. That's really my only complaint. And again, it's like, you know, yeah, it's a $75,000 Dodge, but just a little bit more features and elements would make this thing just, why would you buy a Mercedes at this point? I mean, I do have an adjustable suspension, and if you notice, we have many drive modes. We hit SRT here, and we have track, sport, custom, auto, snow, tow, valet, and eco. And I actually did try valet when I went out for my birthday, and you just punch in a code, whatever code you want, and it mimics the performance of the V6. And I have the press release here. I'll just read this through because there's so much to this vehicle. I'll just go right through the bullet points. I usually don't do this, but let's do it. 0 to 60 mile an hour acceleration, 4.4 seconds. Quarter mile time, 12.9 seconds. And somehow that's been certified by the National Hot Rod Association. 8,700 pound towing capacity. I don't really care about that. And then we get into the modes. So sport mode reduces shift times by 50% versus auto mode. 65% of the 392 Hemi engine's torque goes to the rear wheels. The track mode delivers maximum performance track driving with 160 millisecond shifts and up to 70% of the torque to the rear wheels. The active damping system opens and closes the SRT's suspension damper valves, and depending on which one of the 7 modes is chosen. So it's just like there's so much to this, I can't even read it properly. Stiffer front springs by 3%, stiffer rear springs by 16%, stiffer rear sway bar by 18%, and that gives you high-speed cornering capability. I do have to say, on the cornering front, this car feels like it's an all-wheel drive vehicle, and it is, but for the most part, like the way this car steers, you don't notice because it's way back there, the rear end. But if you put your foot in it hard enough, the rear end is back there, and it's way back there. There's a lot of play before that rear end finally bites down. So it is in this weather, it's a weird experience, but overall, compared to the rear-wheel drive Durango RT that I drove, this one is just more of a monster in all ways. Pirelli P0 3-season tires are optional on this thing. They've done a few things like 180 mile an hour speedometer. It's that thing over there on the left, which I can't even tell you what speed I'm in, so you have to use the digital speed, which is down here, in order to tell how fast you're going. This goes on and on. The suede headliner includes the A-pillar in suede, and of course, like, this is hard plastic, but we have our airbag set up in here. This is actually a way to open the trunk, and we can actually close it from here as well. You'll see in the mirror it's opening up. You'll also see the lights that fire down when that thing is open. So there's plenty of lighting. Let's close it. You can close it from here, which is very convenient. I love how that's so silent. It's a very luxurious touch. And you'd think, oh, I'd never buy a Dodge. I'd never drop $75,000 on a Dodge. But when you think about it, most powerful three-row SUV, just the way this thing has presence, and the fact that it's not your mommy's SUV. it is interesting because people who want a Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT but need a third row, this is where you should be. This is exactly where you need to be. We can look at the map here in our latest weather alert. Yeah, I have to go back to Dallas tonight in 3-season tires. This ought to be fun. Anyway, just looking at this press release, and this is from when they released it. They've had an updated press release just at the same time I've been driving this vehicle, that you can now get striping on the vehicle. You can now get a different type of carbon fiber trim in here. Here we just have the standard aluminum style, which I'm not a fan of. So obviously you want to upgrade to real carbon fiber to really set this thing off as far as interior quality. There are things like this badge here for the airbag that don't make sense to me. Though we do have a fully stitched dash. So it is a luxurious place to be. It smells fantastic in here. It's something I've been spending the week with, and I give it back tomorrow, Monday, and I'm definitely going to miss it. This is you have to experience one. If you've got a family member with some coin and they need a 3-row SUV, you need them to get one of these because you need to ride in this thing. I did do a drive from Dallas to Austin in this, and if you're worried about MPGs, don't be, and I'll explain that in a second. Watch that drive video to really understand what this thing is capable of, but at the same time, know that 11 MPGs is pretty much what I got in the city, and then when I got up on the highway, I didn't break 16 MPGs, and as hard as you can try to be efficient, don't, because whether you try to be efficient in eco mode or sport mode or whatever you do, you're not going to gain any benefit to that. So you might as well just open this thing up and enjoy it for as much as it's worth, because that's how this thing should be experienced. If you're worried about fuel costs, you shouldn't be getting an SUV in the first place. There is a V6 version of the Durango. There's a Citadel trim. It's very nice. It's the same size as this. Obviously, it doesn't have the same kind of power output, but this is the top of the line, most powerful Durango you can get, and you can't go wrong with one of these. You really can't. I like the RT because it's a little bit more fuel efficient than this, but it still has that V8 gusto. But I mean, let me give you a sample of what it sounds like. Ready? Oh man, let me open the trunk here and help you with the sound. While that's opening, see if we can hear it more. Oh. So I can't really drive this thing on a performance level today because of this weather. It's pretty inclement. Now it has all the other features that you'd get from the Uconnect infotainment system with this 8-inch nav screen, and it has a lockable glove box, which is very nice to have. I have plenty of cup holders. I have cup holders in the doors. I have 2 cup holders down here. I'm a little short on storage though in the center console, and that's because I have the DVD player for the rear seat entertainment. But on the rear entertainment side, we have HD ports on both sides for both screens. The way this thing has presence. I know that people say the Chrysler 300 is pretty gangster. To me, this is even more gangster, but it blends in. People just overlook it, and I like that because no one is any wiser to what's going on. But you can make some pretty hellacious noise with this thing in the city or on the highway, just passing people, and it's not even intentional, but that's what I like about it. It's so subtle, yet so obtuse. It's worth it. When you buy a new Durango SRT, you also get a 1-day track experience for performance driving school with Bob Bondurant. So he has a school of high performance driving, and a 1-day class is available with this vehicle when you buy it. It comes for free. It's a $2,000 class, I believe. So if you're into performance driving, or you aren't, but you want an SRT, you should definitely take the course. I haven't taken it. I've done other things, but at the same time, if it comes with it, do it. So there you go. The Durango SRT. If you want to know what it's like to be driven, then watch my other video where I do the road trip from Dallas to Austin. Thanks for watching.